Good morning. You are here with Ryan on ReelTalk here on 90.7 WKGC. We are here to talk all things movies, past and present. If movies are your thing, you're in the right place for today's review of Michael, the biopic about Michael Jackson, now in cinemas nationwide. If the intro sounds a little different, listeners, it's because it is, because after a long hiatus not being live, we are live in Studio 14 today to discuss Michael, which has critics and fans, or critics and the audiences, rather polarized in their opinions on the movie. So I thought no better way to tackle this movie than with a critic, yours truly, and fans of the movie, whom I will introduce here in a moment. We are discussing a movie that arrived with enormous expectations, enormous talent, and perhaps, inevitably, enormous debate. In the opinion of this critic, Michael is, at its best, a spectacle. At its worst, it's a sequence of moments searching for a story to connect them. There's no question that the film delivers visually. The concert and music video sequences are absolutely dazzling, meticulously staged recreations of iconic performances that changed the course of popular music. And at the center of it all is Jaafar Jackson, Michael's nephew, son of Jermaine Jackson, whose portrayal of his uncle is so convincing, at times you will forget that you are watching an actor. Critics across the board have praised his ability to capture Michael's look, voice, and movement, even when they and myself have found the storytelling lacking. But spectacle alone does not make a compelling biography. The film traces Michael's journey from his childhood in Gary, Indiana, through his rise to global stardom, yet it often feels less like a story and more like a highlight reel, moving quickly from one famous moment to the next without pausing to explore the emotional forces driving those moments. Some reviewers have noted that the movie leaps from one event to the next without reflection or pause, summarizing a mythology rather than examining a life. And that distinction matters because a biopic is not just about what happened, it's about why it happened. It's about the human being behind the headlines. So this afternoon, we're going to talk about the film's strengths, its energy, its music, its astonishing performance, and also its limitations as a piece of storytelling, its limitations as a motion picture. And we'll actually compare it to another music biopic that remains, in the opinion of this critic, the gold standard for music biopics, and that is 1993's What's Love Got to Do with It, with Angela Bassett starring as the legendary Tina Turner and Lawrence Fishburne as Ike Turner. Because while Michael may be the more spectacular experience, and no mistaking it, listeners, it indeed is. What's Love Got to Do with It is in many ways the more compelling motion picture. So that's enough for me. I want to get to my guests here before they leave the studio, because I have a feeling we're going to be on different ends of the spectrum on this movie, but I'd be willing to bet money that at least on the performative dimension, we probably all land equally as well. So it'll be a little bit different, listeners, more of a free-form discussion as we go throughout the hour together. My guests in studio are Josh Brunson and Lisa Gorey of Gulf Coast State College, from where we broadcast WKGC. Last week, I learned that both of them were going to see Michael together, and I said, well, this would be fantastic. Why don't you guys come on the show on Monday, and we can talk about it. So we have, again, Josh and Lisa here. Josh, say hello to all of our listeners.
Hello, everybody.
And Lisa, why don't you say hello to everybody out there?
Hi, everyone.
I'm so glad to have you guys in studio today. Lisa has been on this show before. She was on when we were talking about, what was it? No, it wasn't The Bride. It was
How to Make a Killing.
How to Make a Killing. How to Make a Killing with Glenn Powell. And Josh has been on WKGC before. Never on this show, but he has been on here, WKGC before. So veterans of the table around which we sit. So Lisa, Josh, I want to start with the highlight of the movie, and that is the performative dimension. Yes. Jaafar Jackson's performance, absolutely out of this world. And so this is what I feel, regardless of critic, audience member, that the film unquestionably gets right. And everybody has been together on this one. That is Jaafar Jackson's performance. He doesn't just resemble Michael. He channels him physically. And the dance sequences, my goodness, they could be right out of a Michael Jackson music video and you would not know the difference. And there are so many moments throughout the film where the illusion is genuinely startling. But I'd say without that performance, the movie would feel very different, but we won't go there yet. So just here at the top of our discussion together, what did you guys make of his performance? You're both big Michael Jackson fans. I'm familiar with his music, certainly aware of the influence of popular culture, but I do not believe I am nearly as familiar as you two. So I am curious about that level of fandom coming into the movie and seeing what probably feels like seeing Michael Jackson on screen or getting to be at one of his concerts. So just what did you guys make of Jaafar Jackson's performance?
Well, I highly enjoyed it, and I did feel like you were watching Michael Jackson. Yeah. And I liked how they went through the different eras. They picked his biggest hits from different eras, not all. Yeah. Because I guess we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But I did enjoy it. It was kind of like watching a concert film, and we were watching it in IMAX, so it made it better.
Ooh, nice. Yes.
Yes, I enjoyed it as well. I love Michael Jackson, and I believe Jaafar did really well in all aspects. Being that this is his first time acting. Yeah. And all that good stuff. So it was really good. All the performances, like I watched all his stuff on YouTube, and all the moves were the exact same, and I think he did really well.
As I understand it, Jaafar lived at the family house, which to my knowledge the family still occupies, and he lived there for 2 years studying his uncle's music videos, studying his uncle's music. Did you look into Jaafar Jackson's preparations for the role, Josh, before going and seeing the film?
No, I didn't want to say anything about it before, even just like looking up who were the cast, things like that. And so I did all my research like afterwards, like literally after we watched the movie, I came home and I just like wanted to take a deep dive in like all the interviews and everything like that. So I didn't look at anything before.
Okay, so no, Lisa, how much did you look at just in terms of Jaafar Jackson here, background on him or his preparations for the role? Did you look up any information on that prior to going to see the movie?
No, I had just heard that a relative of his was playing his part, and I actually wasn't sure if it was the younger Michael character or the older, and then I realized who it was, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, we're talking a lot about Jaafar Jackson's performance, but I'd be remiss if we did not highlight. I believe the gentleman's name is Giuliano Valdi, who played Michael as the kid. My gosh, what a voice! Incredible. Truly sounded like the Michael Jackson from the Jackson 5, the ABC 1, 2, 3. I could have gone for one or two of their Christmas hits too. It's just like, come on, those are very well known. They get played every single Christmas. Could we have had like the let's see, Santa Claus Coming to Town? I think that's probably the most popular one. And so it would have been really nice to have heard that. That seems to happen a lot with the Judy biopic several years ago, which I also really liked. I kept waiting for Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, particularly at that Christmas scene, and we never get it. So I don't know why we leave out the Christmas songs, but it happens at concerts too. When I saw Madonna back in 23, She did not do Santa Baby. I know it's not Christmas time, but come on, because you delighted us with Santa Baby just for a moment. But his performance as young Michael, and we get him for a good for probably a good quarter to a third of the movie. Incredibly compelling, and I don't know if he has the background of an actor or not, but he also nailed young Michael Jackson voice and mannerisms, did very, very well. What did you guys think of Juliana's performance as young Michael?
Go ahead, Lisa.
I think it was awesome. it suspended your disbelief because you were just into the story because he did it so well. Yeah. And I know a lot of Michael Jackson's story because I lived through it. We're almost the same age, or would be. And so seeing that, he looked just like little Michael Jackson to me when you've seen all the videos of him and how he was. So it was a great performance. I think we'll see awards time. Those two.
You could it's not often young actors get the big nominations, but it does happen every once in a great while. We have there's certainly a few examples of that over the years. And watching the movie, did either of you feel like did you ever forget that you were watching an actor? Whether we're talking Giuliano or Jaafar, did you ever feel like you forgot you were watching an actor and you genuinely felt as though you were watching the King of Pop on screen?
Yeah, I think for me, Jaafar, there's several moments, especially in the concert scenes in the movie. I was like, is this Michael or is this
is this footage?
Is this footage? What is this? I feel like there was maybe one or two moments with Giuliano as well, but I think his performance was really it was spot on. I think this is the first time for him acting as well that I found out as well. So just for both of them, but for Jaafar. Just because he has so much resemblance, he's part of the family. So most of those concert moments, I was like, did they just pull this from the 1980s footage? It was really good.
Yeah, a lot of great concert moments. You have a lot of music video moments in there as well, and that's where I want to go next. Is talking about the concert experience versus the storytelling experience, and this is where audiences and critics seem to diverge. Kind of reflecting back when he was still touring, I feel like this must have been what it was like, at least in some respect, to have been at a live, Michael Jackson live in concert. The film gets remarkably close to recreating what it must have been like. Whether we're talking the sound design, the choreography, my gosh, the choreography, mind-blowing choreography. He nailed it. Every single one of those moves, he nailed. The staging, the just sheer spectacle of it all. It's this phantasmagorical experience. But experiencing a concert and experiencing a story are two different things. In my opinion, the movie excels as an experience. It really does. Felt like I was at a concert. It does struggle as a narrative, though. And I feel as though I was watching a series of great moments rather than a complete story. So if we could step away from the performance for a moment, the performative dimension for a moment, and just look at the storytelling itself. And I'm not asking you to be screenwriting experts here. Just looking, just the stories of beginning, middle, and end, establishment, development, resolution, just the very basics of storytelling. Where do you fall along that spectrum? Do you feel that it was a little disjointed, or perhaps it wasn't something you picked up on because the experience was why you were there? So did you ever feel that you were just watching a highlight reel, or for you, did it feel like a complete story?
No, it does not feel like a complete story. I was let down at the end with the message on the screen.
This story will continue. Tantamount to be continued, Dr.
Yeah, because it stops at a certain era for him. And yes, the years that would flash up on the screen, you know, all of a sudden we were in the 70s and then the 80s, and then you knew by his music, that's what's going on now. But it was just from like switching the channels on a TV.
Switching the channels on the TV. I never thought about that analogy before. That makes a lot of sense. Josh, what about you?
I do think it was kind of like the highlights of like his great moments and things like that. But where I feel that the story was good is that relationship between him and his father. Like, I feel like they kept that part of the story consistent, and just like his, you know, him wanting to go solo, him wanting to do his own thing. But also I feel like another aspect of the story that I kind of felt consistent was him really trying to, well, I guess it's his younger part, but like him just wanting to be a child and experience all those things, but he also had to be this great performer as well. And so I guess what you can kind of get from that story is like he just really wasn't able to fully enjoy his childhood. I mean, at least was talking about this as well. But I feel like those two aspects of the story, I feel was written pretty well, and I feel like I got that emotional connection. But as far as like going behind the scenes of like how he felt and what led to each moment, I do feel like it was kind
the drive, the motivation. We're missing. It's like, I get you want to be the best. Why? Why do you feel this compulsion to be the best? Which is something I'm glad you brought up. I'm glad you brought up Joseph Jackson. And there's a missed opportunity there to really dive into the human condition, into the motivations of both Joseph and Michael, and by extension the rest of the Jackson Five. In that, in so much as I was able to learn about Joseph's character, and you guys may know more about the family history than I do, but as much as I was able to learn, I felt that at his core, that he felt that he was doing the right thing. And it's because there's one line, and it's towards the beginning of the movie, and it's about, I don't want my boys working in a steel mill the rest of their lives like me. And I wanted to spend more time on that, where methods of expressing that desire, certainly abusive, but I feel that he was hard because he did not want them stuck in a steel mill the rest of their lives like he was. And along the way, yes, he's greedy, and he starts living vicariously, you know, through his more famous son and becoming dependent on him. And there's all those negative things. And is never an excuse for abuse. But what I think the missed opportunity is that the motivation, though, was to better their lives. It's just that I found his methods repulsive. And I think had we spent more time on that, we would have learned a little bit more about the motivation. Like perhaps learn a little bit more about why Michael's drive was to be the best. Because he said it, I think it was the thriller sequence, was talking about it being like the best. But why is that? What did you guys think about the depiction of Joseph's character?
Well, I've watched other movies about Michael Jackson and seen home videos displayed somewhere, and I think it's right on. He was a wheeler dealer. He was his manager, and he really felt like whenever Michael Jackson reaped the benefits, he worked so hard to help get him there. He did. I mean, but yeah, I think it was a good depiction of him. I would agree that it was pretty right on.
I think we spent a little too much time on the abuse, which is important, which is an important part of the story, and just like in the Tina Turner story, like the way Ike treated her is unapologetic, but actually much more difficult to watch than what we saw in Michael. But I think we spent too much time on that and not enough of the motivation to make his boys the best in the world. and wanting the best for them. Josh, what did you make of Joseph Jackson and how he was portrayed?
Yeah, I think they portrayed him well, and then the actor Coleman, Domingo,
Mm-hmm.
I think his last name. Yeah, I think he played it really well. And I just started to think about, like, I know it's kind of going off subject, but just kind of think about, like, those type of parents. And obviously, I don't agree with the abuse and all that good stuff, but, like, I do want to see, like, that motivation of that why of, like, you know, because I feel like it comes from a good place when you realize that your children have talent and you want them to work hard and things like that. Because I found it's kind of similar with Serena Williams' father in her movie.
King of something or other.
Yeah, something like that. I forgot the name of it. But yeah, like they both had that drive and pushed their kids, and you know, ultimately they had this ultimate success. And but obviously the greed come in and things like that, and the whole, like, you know, I made you. You're the only. This is because of me. Things like that is where it kind of tailors. But
well,
in the beginning, I just feel.
I picked up when he called him Big Nose.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's the moment. There's where the body dysmorphia can start. You plant a seed.
Yes.
And I think he always, besides everything else that was done, I think that really got to him. You know. Yeah. But that was sad.
We touched on it. It's just the movie seemed to, like, and it had plenty of time to do it, but it seemed to always come short of further connecting them. Yeah. Like you said, body dysmorphia, that we can read that into there, but it's never meaningfully connected throughout the narrative. But we're going to go ahead into our first break. We'll come back and continue our discussions on the movie. You are listening to Real Talk on 90.7 WKGC. You're with R.L. Terry, with Josh Brunson and guest Lisa Gorey. We will be right back after this break to continue our review of Michael, now in cinemas nationwide. Welcome back to Real Talk on 90.7 WKGC. You're with host R.L. Terry, and with me in studio today are Josh Brunson and Lisa Gorey, and we are gathered around the table to discuss Michael, now in cinemas nationwide. One of the criticisms I've leveraged against the movie is its very Wikipedia-like nature. And it's not just, and I want us to think a bit more broadly here, because it's not unique to Michael. I find that in many recent biopics, whether they're music or not, in any recent biopics, they feel very Wikipedia. So if you were to look at Wikipedia and go through the article, this is, in a sense, the movie that you're developing scenes based upon each of these entries into the article. And that's what I want to talk about next. We can talk about some other biopics that may come to mind as we're going through the movie here, because many biopics focus on the major events, not those intimate, small moments, but the big moments that made headlines. They show the concert. They show the award. Perhaps it's a biopic about an actor. They show the headline. Maybe it's they show controversy in there. But, and we touched on this before the break, that in Michael rarely shows us motivation. Like, we get what the goal is, but we don't always get the motivation. We also don't always get the fear. And this isn't just Michael. You could say this about a lot of biopics. We rarely get to see the motivation. We rarely get to see the fear. And probably most importantly of all, we rarely witness the internal struggle with these biopics. Michael is, as we've established, incredibly flashy, but I feel that it's lacking in some substance outside of the performance sequences, which again are just off of this chart. I mean, they're just out of this world. They really, really are. So we often learn what happened, but we don't always learn why it happened. It's like in my 8.5 years of teaching, I would often orientation to the class, would mention to the students that I would. It's not enough in my classroom to get the right answer. I want to know why. I would much rather you get the answer wrong and explain to me why you thought the way you did, or versus just getting it right for the sake of getting it right, because I know what the answer is, but that gives me no insight into how you think. But I can gain insight into how you think by why, hows, and whys. That's what I want to focus on. So it's usually open up with name, favorite movie, and then but I want to know why. I don't want to just know your favorite movie. I want to know why that movie is your favorite. And that's what we lack so often in biopics, is the why for the things that happened. Very clearly, he wants to be the best. But why is that? Why does he want to look a certain way? Lisa, you mentioned before the break the nickname Big Nose, and we can form those connections. And I'm certainly not saying that a movie has to spoon feed us everything, and that takes some of the joy out of watching it. But there needed to be more narrative connective tissue there, showing us the why decisions were made, what drove him, not just to be the best, because that's not motivation to be the best. Why are you feeling like you need to be the best, or why are you feeling that you're not photogenic? Why are you feeling these things? And that's where I feel biopics, especially those in recent years, really seem to miss the mark. Do you feel that Michael sufficiently gave us motivation, sufficiently explained why, or did you find yourself, based upon your own research or your own history of being a fan, was it based upon that? What do you make of that dimension of the movie?
Well, I mean, just from life experience, like he at a very young age, he was around a lot of famous people and how they looked and how they acted, and we don't know that. Like you said, there's not a lot of background text. I mean, as he's growing up, we just see him hit his high points. I mean, I'm sure he saw that and equal success, because as a little boy, his mother and himself would sit and watch these shows and how dancers, and he's just a perfectionist.
Fred Astaire. I didn't realize that Michael Jackson was a big fan of Gene Kelly. That's right, because I was singing in the rain, Gene Kelly, and I think Fred Astaire as well. And I didn't know that they were huge. I mean, I guess in retrospect, totally makes sense. But I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah,
Charlie Chaplin as well, huge influence.
I just think he saw he put those people on a pedestal, and a lot of other singers too that he was around as he was singing, and that even though he might not know what they're going through, that was perfection to him, and that's what he had to base it off, because he was young. They even took him out of school, to do his concerts and singing and get.
Yeah, Joseph said they don't need to go to school. They need to work on this, and sorry, not advocating taking your kids out of school, but he at the time, in order to make it, this is probably what he felt was the best course of action. And who knows, had they returned to school, maybe we wouldn't have the story that we have today. We will never know. But certainly that showed the commitment to their art, and I think Joseph was hugely responsible for that drive, good, bad, or indifferent. Was hugely responsible for that drive.
Yeah, I think his dad saying, "This is what we need to do. You have the voice, you have the gift," and probably in his mind, I've got to be the best, because we all know someone. I've got to be the best at what I do. I want to be the best. So you drive. Some people drive themselves crazy, almost, or just irrational sometimes.
Yeah. I do wish they kind of showed, just from me keeping up with Michael over the years and a lot of YouTube videos, since he was a perfectionist, like I wish they would have showed that behind the scenes of like just him making the music, and adding this piece or adding that piece or wanting this sound and things like that.
Yeah.
I do feel like they could have kind of.
We seem to lack a lot of character development all the way around in the film, particularly when it comes to both Michael and Joseph. And I actually think Joseph's character is a bit better developed than Michael's character is in the movie. And I think a lot of biopics, they don't show us the development of the characters, whether it's positive or negative development. We see the results of, but we don't always get to see that development. Another biopic that I think did an incredibly good job with character development was I, Tonya, with Margot Robbie as Tonya Harding back in 2017. I thought it did a very good job of telling Tanya's story, and we got a lot of great development in there. Another one that is very much character driven is the Eyes of Tammy Faye with Jessica Chastain playing Tammy Faye Baker. And again, incredible performance. Like she won all the acting awards that year. Every single award show, festival, she took home Best Actress. Her portrayal as Tammy Faye. And that's similar to what we have here. I think we're going to see a lot of Jaafar Jackson taking home awards this upcoming award season. But in The Eyes of Tammy Faye and I, Tonya, we see that character development. So we're getting the motivations why, the reasons why the drive to be the best. Her drive was to be the best athlete, and a lot of her drive was having grown up a redneck. I didn't realize Oregon had rednecks, but I guess outside of Portland, it's right. Redneck territory, and that's what she said. She said like that was her upbringing, and she wanted to get away from that life, and wanted to be the best athlete. And of course, Tammy Faye at the time, certainly very well known on television with the PTL club. And so, but I don't think we get as much of that. I don't think we get as much of that here. You can make the case that Joseph was harsh and controlling, but again, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier, we're missing the deeper story there. We just get that one glimpse of it. I don't want my boys working in a steel mill or whatever he said. But we don't fully explore the motivation. We don't fully explore Michael Jackson's motivation for being an absolute perfectionist. I do think the closest we get to that is it's two different scenes, and I think they might even be back-to-back or close to it. We have the sequence in the warehouse with it was the Crips and the Bloods, the Crips and the Bloods are in the warehouse, and so we get a little bit of that, and then also with the Thriller video. Thriller, definitely my favorite part of the movie, and it's probably true for a lot of people. Thriller was the favorite part, but we do get some of that in there, particularly with the Thriller music video. As we're getting to make it, and it's like we're watching the music video. So we do get a sense of that. Just let's explore those for just a moment. Either the warehouse with the Crips and the Bloods, or the Thriller scene. Which one of those, in your guys' opinion, best showcased Michael's desire for perfection in performance art and his motivation?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Well, on the gang with
Crips and the Bloods.
Yeah, the Crips and the Bloods. I think that was brought out of what he saw what was happening in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think that was so much perfection as he wanted to get it right. He wanted those gang members he wanted to unite them with dance and have their opinions. Now, Thriller, yes, especially when he was telling John Landis, big time director, directing this video, that he needed to see the feet. Like, you got to see the whole self. So to me, that was a bigger moment where he was showing perfection, or he just he thought he thinks that makes it, which he was right. I mean, to me.
I guess you bring up a really good point there, Lisa. I guess in retrospect, perhaps I should have phrased that a little bit differently, because I think we actually do have two different things. We've got the humanitarian motivation, which we get in the warehouse scene with the Crips and the Bloods, but then we get the perfection performance with the Thriller video, both of which play huge roles in his career. I think it's during this time, although it was not included in the movie, was the We Are the World music video, which I think would have been, because I don't think that was 90s. I know the halftime show was 93, so we wouldn't have gotten there yet. But I do think We Are the World was sometime in the 80s. Perhaps between those two scenes, I think we get more motivation, more why in those two sequence of scenes than we do in the rest of the movie, because I think it also goes to show kind of some of the most human parts of this superstar is in both of those.
Yeah, because he did a lot of things. He gave a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's why Princess Diana and him, I think, were close friends, because she visited patients in the AIDS wards that nobody else would go. He was, he was in the burn unit, but then I think he just carried off and he said the statement, I want to give all the money.
All the money.
All the money that Pepsi, all of it, and they were like, all of it? And he said, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he was a very giving person, a very philanthropist. I think he that really showed that side of him, too.
Yeah. And I think I do think the Thriller scene showed more of his perfectionist, because he did want to see defeat and things like that. But he did have some moments in the warehouse, because, I just remember him showing him how to do like the body roll. And it's like he really wanted to get it right. And then, he was asking the game members that were sitting there watching and all that good stuff, if they like certain things and like that. So, but the warehouse piece spoke more to like what was going on in the world. Like Lisa was saying. Like that,
Only because they planted the news stories of all the fighting right before that vignette where they go and they bring them together for the Beat It video, which I had heard that he brought real gang members into. So actually, his background. I had heard that before.
Okay. Wow. I don't think we've ever heard of that happening. We haven't heard of that happening before. While we're on the Beat It and Thriller and this scene, I think it's one of the probably one of the high points of the movie is this section, which is a little more than midway through. But of all of them, I gotta say, the whole Thriller sequence, that was my favorite. It's not as spectacular as the concert at the end, but it is the most fun, because you feel that you are right there in the music video that many of us will see at least once around Halloween time. I wish we had gotten a little bit more than a passing nod to the great Vincent Price, because Vincent Price almost passed on doing it. So I'm glad we get one of the most famous scenes from House of Wax, and so we get the nod. But if you don't know about Vincent Price going into this movie, there's not enough there to really make the connection. But for those of us that do know the great Vincent Price, I like that he at least got a nod. In there. But I was just ecstatic. The whole Thriller sequence. I was not dancing in my seat. I'm just a little too reserved for that. But in my mind, I was dancing. I was doing the Thriller moves as best as I could, and I am not a great dancer. What did you guys like best about? Is that your favorite scene? One and two. What did you like best about the Thriller sequence?
Well, I remember making sure I was home to watch MTV because that was coming out. And he did say in there, I want to make a movie.
Yes.
And all his videos, a lot of his videos, they were, and they've been cut since then, but there's a lot before and after.
Thriller, Captain EO, which you can watch at Epcot for a very long time. Smooth Criminal,
yeah. So I really enjoyed it because it brought me back to just enjoyed it. But I mean, we haven't mentioned like a big pivotal moment to me, and I watched this, was the American Music Awards, where he did the moonwalk for the first time.
Yeah.
See, that to me
Billie Jean, right?
Billie Jean. And that was a pivotal moment where I think his fame he already was famous, but it just shot up, in my opinion. Okay. And I remember watching that, and that was the talk, and he got he got a lot of more attention with that. And he had the glove. You know, the glove gets introduced. Yeah. That was one of his iconic, you know, wardrobe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the socks and the shoes. Yeah. But I remember, to me, if I had to say a pivotal moment in his life, was that, and they did a great job. And I believe the flashback of some of the audience, I believe that was the real audience on some of them, to me. But yeah, that I had to say that about the American Music Awards.
Oh my goodness! But just for the Thriller scene, what I enjoyed about it, just the whole thing. But I didn't know about the whole thing about the struggle with getting it on MTV.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
either.
So I do appreciate that. Why aspect them going behind the scenes of that, because I didn't know that at all. You know, that they pretty much have to force it. Fire people and all that good stuff. Yeah. So, but my favorite moment was obviously the Billie Jean, one with Billie Jean, and then all the live concerts, especially at the end, just all the performing, because Jaafar just did so well.
He really did. Well, you're listening to Real Talk on 90.7 WKGC. You're with host R.L. Terry, and I have guests in studio, Josh Brunson and Lisa Gorey. We are talking about Michael, now in cinemas nationwide. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to Real Talk on 90.7 WKGC. You're with R.L. Terry, and in studio I have with me guests Josh Brunson and Lisa Gorey. We are here talking about Michael, now in cinemas nationwide. We've covered so much about this movie. It's doing incredibly well at the box office. Still, critics and audiences are divided on it, but we're exploring why that may be, and we're diving into that, not just taking those conversations on social media and in print media at face value, but learning a bit more why we think the way we do, just like we kind of wish the movie explained a little bit more why people do what they do. Something I want to make sure we touch on is perhaps, at least in my opinion, the film's strongest thematic idea, and that is the Peter Pan motif. Listeners, it's so maybe this is a little bit of a spoiler. We never make it to Neverland. So if you're wanting to see the Neverland Ranch, we don't quite make it there. There are points in this movie that hint at it, but we never make it to the Neverland Ranch. But certainly we know the fondness that Michael Jackson had for the Peter Pan story, and this really is one of the strongest thematic ideas. One of the most effective ways of channeling that emotional core in any film is through the themes and subtext, and we get recurring references to Peter Pan, whether it's the book, whether it's talking about the movie or play, and which fuels a lot of the decisions that he would make as a performing artist. This Peter Pan motif helps to explain Michael's fascination with perpetual childhood. He seemed to connect very well with kids. I think that worked with the philanthropic efforts in the hospitals, going and connecting with them. And so many of us could probably take a little bit of learn a little bit of a lesson from that, and that we should never forget what it's like to be a child. But a very strong fascination with being with childhood. Very much longing for innocence, and then a desire to escape adulthood, which is what the Lost Boys, which is what they do. And this is one of the few elements that provides emotional continuity from beginning to end. We may lack some narrative continuity from beginning to end, but we nail it on this emotional continuity through the use of the Peter Pan motif. How did that resonate with you guys? And perhaps what did it make you think, or how did it make you think about this character in his development from child to pop superstar?
Well, it made me kind of sad for him. I don't think he had a childhood like many children do.
If he did, it was very quick.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he used that to cope with things. I mean, even in his book, he had Captain Hook
Joseph.
Joseph, and he didn't call his father Dad, Father, Pop.
I don't think any of the boys did.
Yeah, I guess
Joseph,
but they called Mom.
Yes.
You know, so I thought it was kind of sad to me. Funny, there were funny moments because of him feeling that way, but
you can definitely tell that he wasn't able to just experience the childhood, and he was like kind of longing for that because even I believe maybe his dad said it, and I'm thinking Mom said it as well. Like, you're not like the other kids. Yeah. In the movie, and so that was just a connection that just to kind of keep him, you know, in that childlike mindset. And like you mentioned earlier, I just feel like that kind of not to his kind. It kind of makes it feel like innocence. Yeah. All that good stuff. I think that was a good.
Yeah, I was able to make the connection to the Neverland Ranch. Before this movie, I did not know that there was a fondness for, fascination with John and Barry's story of Peter Pan and all the various, you know, film and television iterations thereof, stage iterations. I just knew of the Neverland Ranch and its ties with the World Children's Congress, I believe it was called. So this helped me make that connection, like why this, and then also the different animals. We certainly have the makings of the Neverland Ranch there at the Jackson family home, and so that was making more sense about the kind of celebration of youth, celebration of innocence, but also a form of escapism, because that's, you know, what his music videos certainly provided. Was a sense of escapism. Well, what is Neverland? Well, it's escape. It's escape from our world, and, you know, by extension, you could say escape from adulthood. And eventually, we all need to grow up, including listeners that 35-year-old playing video games in your basement. They do need to they do need to grow up. and to move out. So it's really a balance there. We should never forget. We should never lose a sense of childhood. But there does come a time that we do need to put away some of the things of childhood and grow up. And so, and I think you can explore a lot of that through the Peter Pan motif. The onset of the show, I mentioned a music biopic that I thought, that I feel is the gold standard for music biopics, and just a really good example of a biopic in general. And in all fairness, I'd say the character at the center of its story is just as big of a star as Michael Jackson was, and that is, of course, the biopic, What's Love Got to Do with It, based upon Tina Turner's autobiography, I, Tina, and that's with Angela Bassett playing Tina Turner, who also does an incredible job, like Jaafar Jackson level. That is what she does with Tina Turner, and with that movie, and I went back and I rewatched it Saturday, I think it was, this past Saturday. I went back and watched it this past Saturday because it'd been a long time since I'd seen it, but it always stuck with me. That's my favorite Angela Bassett performance is her Tina Turner. And I think it's a great Lawrence Fishburne role as well as Ike, even though he's a detestable person. But the performance, incredible. And but it doesn't feel like a concert. We get moments, we get where she is performing, but it never feels as spectacular as Michael. Michael, by far, the more spectacular of the two. Certainly the bigger spectacle. But What's Love Got to Do with It, it feels like it's a stronger story. And I can boil that down to this. Michael, very much performance-driven. What's Love Got to Do with It, much more character-driven. We do get those quiet moments. We do get the motivations and the drive, and going from a little girl from kind of middle of nowhere Tennessee to headlining shows a little bit after. Michael rose to stardom a little bit before Tina Turner, because even though as a solo artist, she was touring with Ike right around the same time that all the events in Michael are unfolding. Both performances are extraordinary, but What's Love Got to Do with It, I feel the performance exists fully within a fully developed narrative. Whereas Michael, incredible performance, the narrative itself does not feel as fully developed. And so what I'm talking about here is the narrative connective tissue. And What's Love Got to Do with It, which is also shorter than Michael. We get an entire story, it's shorter than Michael by about 20 minutes, and we have plenty of connective tissue in there. Every scene builds towards something. Every scene has a beginning, middle, and end. When I taught screenwriting, I hammered that into my students. Every single scene should be thought of as a short film, no matter how short it is. Even if it is a 45-second scene, every scene in a screenplay should have a beginning, middle, and end. Establishment, development, resolution. And it doesn't mean it's tied up with a bow. It just means there's some type of resolution there. So every scene in What's Love Got to Do with It, from the very beginning of Tina Turner singing in her country church, getting kicked out, by the way, because she was stealing the spotlight from the Lord, I guess. And so from that moment all the way on, every scene is building towards something, and it does so naturally. It doesn't feel forced. It's very natural from one scene. So you see the cause, you see the consequence, and you see the transformation. In other words, it feels like a journey, not just a highlight reel. So the movie doesn't just show Tina Turner's life, it explains it. And I wish Michael had taken note from What's Love Got to Do with It in terms of its storytelling, and because we only got half of it, we got another half to go. I think it could have used a little bit more editing in the screenplay. The film could have used a little bit more editing, not editing in terms of the technical achievement, editing in terms of making the scenes as lean as possible. Because I think we needed more of those quiet moments. We didn't have enough of those quiet moments. So not just the concerts, not just the headlines, but those decisions made in private. And I kind of leave it with this. In What's Love Got to Do with It, we get conversations, conflicts, turning points. And we have those to a smaller extent in Michael, but Michael's largely built on performances, milestones, and highlights. So listeners, if you're looking for a great music biopic after you've seen Michael, if you're now on like a music biopic dive, you may want to check that out. You can find it very easily on physical media or online. But we've certainly talked a lot about different aspects to the movie. We got just a few 2-3 minutes left here. What's some of what we have not talked about that resonated with you guys in watching the movie?
Well, I don't know if his dad so much, but his mom encouraged him to go play with some friends his age.
Yeah. And
he said, the animals were his friends. And, I mean, it seemed he just got this kind of lonely feel from him. I just felt like he felt lonely, and that was touched on there. And they really delve into the Pepsi commercial accident.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't even know back then when it all was happening. They didn't really release a lot about it, so I didn't really know where he was injured until I learned about, but that really kind of delve in deep.
I think the only thing, and I don't know how we would get this answer, but the fact that Janet was just left out the whole thing. I know she kindly declined.
I kept waiting for Janet to show up, and we get LaToya, but never Janet. We never get Janet.
And I know she declined after my research after the movie, but I was just like
not even shown.
Yeah, not even shown. Like young or
or watching what's happening.
Yeah, so I think that's the only thing.
And that his one of his children, Prince.
Yeah, Prince
was on there for production or producer. I saw at the end.
Yeah, the director. Yeah.
Yeah, but his daughter didn't want to be part of it. Paris didn't want to be part of it.
Oh.
And they had to, after the fact, I have read that, his, the charges, supposed charges against him, that wasn't even brought up, but I think I had read that was because it was funded by
There's some kind of an agreement.
Yeah.
There was some kind of an
agreement. So
agreement
they had
there.
to leave it out. And
which I know it's it is part of his story, and I'm hoping that in the next installment that it is addressed, because I think you will lose audiences if you don't address that chapter in his life.
Yeah, just kind of stop.
Yeah.
I go, wait.
Yeah.
I just kind of stopped.
Stops in 1988.
Yeah.
Concert in London.
It like, boom, that's it. And I'm like, whoa.
His story continues.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, it's like the equivalent of a to be continued on there. Well, Josh, anything else before we wrap up the show?
I don't think so. I will just say this, because I know we wanted to dive in, the narrative, things like that. Yeah. But I don't think I would have enjoyed this
as much.
Okay,
fair.
It was, because I just love all his music, so I actually wanted just to see more.
Yeah. So perhaps go for the concert, go for the spectacle, go to witness an astonishing performance, but maybe don't expect a deeper understanding behind the music. Mm-hmm. But it is a lot of fun there. And it certainly has a concert-like appeal to the movie. Well, listeners, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Lisa, so much for joining us on Real Talk. And listeners, as always, if you missed any of this show, you can catch this and previous episodes of Real Talk on your favorite podcatcher. Just search for WKGC Public Media on your podcast service of choice. Stay tuned for Jazz in a Minor Key with Walter Hale coming up next. And we have a little Michael Jackson for you just before that. Thanks to all of you for listening. I hope you'll tune in again next week, same time, same place for more Real Talk on 90.7 WKGC.